The definition of child labor is: child labor is the employment of children in an industry or business, especially when illegal or considered exploitative. One became a child laborer in the Industrial Revolution by going to work with their families in the factories. Children went to factories where they could work alongside their families members or by themselves to help support their families. This was only the beginning of child labor. Child laborers in the Industrial Revolution worked in harsh, dark, unhygienic working areas. If child laborers survived the factory until the age of 16, they left with bad eyesight, poor hearing, bad backs, and deformed spines. Child laborers in the Industrial Revolution worked in harsh, dark, unhygienic working areas. If child laborers survived the factory until the age of 16, they left with bad eyesight, poor hearing, bad backs, and deformed spines.
I usually worked 7 days a week to 12 to 18 hours a day of labor. Due to lack of sleep, we were in a drowsy state where we could harm or possibly kill ourselves by not being aware and by not having the energy to focus on our work.
Most of child labor is found today in developing countries. Child labor has existed since the 1800s, and today it still exists, but at newer and higher extremes.
According to HAQ Center of Child Rights, child labor is highest among scheduled tribes, Muslims, scheduled castes.
The company, Childline India, says that bonded child labor is a hidden phenomenon as a majority of the children are found working in the informal sector. Bonded labor means the employment of a person against a loan or debt or social obligation by the family of the child or the family as a whole. It is a form of slavery. Children who are bonded with their family or inherit a debt from their parents are often found in the agricultural sector or assisting their families in brick kilns and stone quarries. Individual pledging of children is a growing occurrence that usually leads to the trafficking of children to urban areas for employment, and have children working in the small production houses versus factories. Bonded laborers in India are mostly migrant workers, which opens them up to more exploitation. Also, they mostly come from low caste groups such as Dalits or marginalized tribal groups. Factories where laborers work from 10 to 12 hours a day for 6 to 7 days a week were
Cramped, filthy, unbearably hot and humid, impaired by stray electrical wires and rusty nails, contaminated by grime and mold.
according to the Tainted Carpets, Slavery and Child Labor in India's Handmade Carpet Sector report.
Child labor has increasingly gotten worse over the years. Child laborers have been treated terribly over the decades and have been all abused at multiple times in their work and work in ever worsening conditions.
Many of the children working at the factories started at the age of 5 because they could access parts of the machines and perform tasks that adults were simply too big to perform. Child laborers were cheaper to have working in the factories because they didn't require the factory owner to pay as much money on their wages as adults.